Welcome, 7th graders. Here are today's quick notes and the plan for today. So start with watching this video and filling out the top half of page 2 of your digestive system packet that has vocabulary from digestion down to villi. After you finish watching this, you'll answer the 10 review questions that are on the bottom half of the page. Those answers come from the vocab and from page 1 where you labeled the parts and their jobs of those organs. And then 3, take a picture of this finished page and post it on today's assignment to get 10 points of credit for that work. As you are watching today, please pause when you need more time to write down any of the vocabulary and rewind and rewatch to make sure you don't miss anything important. So, number 1, the big story, the big reason we study the digestive system and that you have a digestive system is that digestion breaks your food down into the small nutrient molecules that your body actually uses. So unfortunately, the individual cells in your body can't just use steak or pizza or chips directly as energy, but it has to go through your whole digestive tract and then be absorbed through the small intestine as usually tiny molecules like glucose, basic sugar molecule, that those cells can actually use for energy. So the digestion process is just breaking your food down smaller and smaller and smaller until it can fit into individual cells for energy. So this cool diagram shows a lot of the chemicals and processes that we'll talk about next for mechanical and chemical digestion and how that food gets broken down over the course of 1 to 3 days in your body. So there's 2 main ways food is broken down. It can be physically broken down. You can think of like crunching or punching it down using your teeth. And then chemical, where chemicals act kind of like scissors to snip it up once it's too small for physical means to actually break it down. So part 1 is mechanical digestion. This is the physical breakdown of food into smaller pieces, like the dog chewing the bone. So mastication is the fancy name for chewing. And that includes chewing, but also can include peristalsis, which is shown in this diagram here, where once you swallow your food, it's squeezed through your esophagus by the peristalsis movement of those muscles, smooth muscles that squeeze your food down. In the stomach, and in the small intestine as well, there's peristalsis happening where there's squeezing of muscles on the outside of your stomach, and it kind of acts like a washing machine to like mix and physically break down your food that way. So mechanical digestion is teeth and peristalsis. So those 2 processes are both physical changes to the food you've eaten. Chemical digestion, in contrast, is the use of chemicals to break down your food. These are enzymes or acids that can digest your food. So like it shows in the picture there, your stomach acid, the juices in your stomach, once the food gets there, it just starts getting kind of dissolved apart as it changes form. And there's a whole long list of enzymes, which are chemicals your body makes and that help break down your food. Everything from things in your stomach to liver, and then all those chemicals produced by your pancreas to help as your food moves through the small intestines then. The most common, or one of the most important enzymes of digestion is in your saliva or spit, and it's called salivary amylase. Its job is to break down carbohydrates. So that could be bread, cereal, pasta, even fruit is actually carbohydrate as well, and it starts to break those down into simple sugars. So this actually begins in your mouth already with the salivary glands producing saliva to help this process. And when you swallow, you're swallowing some saliva, so it continues to help out throughout the process as well. So that's just a common example, and it takes big, long molecules like starch and starts to break them down. Think of it like a really big Lego creation, and then you're going to slowly break it down into smaller component parts of the Legos. Mucus, important part of your body. I know you sometimes sneeze and have to blow it out if you get too much accumulating in your nose, but it also lines your throat and your esophagus, and that helps move your food. It lubricates the sides of your mouth and your esophagus so it's not dry, so that food slides down really easily. Additionally, it's found in your stomach, where it protects your stomach lining from acid, because if you get too much acid and there isn't protection, you can have what is called an ulcer forming. You can see it in the picture here. It's a hole. An ulcer is just a hole in your stomach lining where acid has eaten away at your stomach lining, and that would cause like painful burning, and it can lead to further infections. So that's not something you want. So the mucus that lines the inside of your stomach helps protect against that really strong acid like hydrochloric acid that's in your stomach. So 2 jobs again: lubrication, wetting the food to make it easier to go down, and then protecting your stomach lining from that really strong acid that's helping digest your food chemically. Chyme is the name for the food that's partially digested and then is mixed with acid in the stomach and is kind of like a liquidy, gross looking stuff. But it's an important step along the way, right? When you swallow your food, it still looks like your food just chewed up. Once it's in your stomach for a while, it looks no longer like food. And again, if you've ever thrown up, like once it's digested a bunch, it's kind of like brown mush. And that's the chyme that's forming that then goes on to the small intestine to get final breakdown so it can be absorbed. Again, very acidic at this point too, which is why it hurts to throw it up. Enzymes are again another name for the chemical or proteins that are made by your bodies to help speed up the breakdown of food molecules. This is chemical digestion. So there's different chemicals that are in your body produced by your salivary glands or in your stomach or by your pancreas and liver. And that speeds up the process so that your food doesn't take as long to break down as if it would if it were just waiting on, the physical breakdown. So these chemicals do a really important job. If you've ever heard of tryptophan, that's one of those chemicals that helps break down turkey and makes you sleepy, apparently, on Thanksgiving. But different enzymes will break down carbohydrates versus proteins and meat versus fats, because those all have different molecular structures to them. Peristalsis was mentioned on the first page of your packet because it happens in your esophagus. It's where involuntary waves of smooth muscle push your food down to your stomach. Once you swallow, you don't think about it. You don't necessarily feel this either, but your food is pushed so that it effectively is moving in one direction through your body. You don't want it accidentally working its way back up. So there is peristalsis of these involuntary muscles we don't think about in your stomach, your esophagus, and in your small and large intestines, because they have to get pushed through, that 20 feet of winding small intestine and then 5 more feet of the large intestine before it gets sent out of your body. So good connection to the muscular system, because these muscles have to help push your food through. And the last step in digestion is the absorption. You don't eat your food just to break it down and then poop it out. Ideally, the vast majority of the food you eat doesn't get discarded as waste, but is used in your body because it's absorbed. So this is when the food in your digestive system, like your small intestine, gets transferred into your bloodstream. This is why you have all these villi, those finger-looking things in your small intestine, because they increase surface area to make it easier for your blood to grab onto these molecules and then transport them to your brain so it gets the energy it needs to be thinking, to all your muscles that are moving so they have energy to work as well. It's a pretty complicated process. And so the last vocab term for today is a reminder of what those villi are. They look like tiny little fingers, and they're actually little bits of tissue or skin kind of, but on the inside of your body. They line your small intestine only because that's where most of the absorption happens, and they support or make it easier for your body to absorb nutrients, like those little tiny sugar molecules that have been broken down through digestion so they can get into your blood and then to all the cells of your body. Pretty amazing little structure. And this is what increases the amount of surface area so much that your body can be very effective at digesting and then absorbing your food. That's it for vocab. If I talk too fast, rewind, hit pause. That's a nice thing with using a video format here.